Hello students, how are you? In the previous video of the chapter natural resources, we started about discussing soil. Okay, so in the previous video we discussed about various layers of the soil, that is soil horizon and the soil profile. I hope it is clear to all of you that the top soil, subsoil, then the bedrock, what is their properties, how the kind of particles are there, okay, which part contains organic matter or the humus, and that's all. Okay, so you need to remember these things. In today's video we will be starting the next, that is factors affecting the formation of soil. Okay, so let's see some of the factors that affect the formation of soil one by one. Shall we start, students? Okay, first one, the sun. It is responsible for breaking down the rocks into smaller pieces and forming cracks in between them. The sun, it is responsible for breaking down the rocks into smaller pieces, because there are big rocks, so into smaller pieces. By how? By forming cracks in between them. The sun's radiations heat up the rock during the daytime, and as a result the rocks expand. Okay, as you know, when we were discussing in the air, that the air used to blow, so when the air was heating up it used to expand, and by expanding it was becoming lighter, so on heating it become expand. So in same way, due to the sun's radiation, it heats up the rock, and due to that heating the rock expand, and due to that expansion it generates cracks between it. Okay, but during the night these rocks cool down and therefore contract. Okay, all the parts of the rocks may not cool down or heat up at the same time, but all of this leads to the formation of cracks in them and ultimately breaks down. This expansion and contraction regular, because next time again day will come, then again expansion will take place, again night will come, again contraction will take place. So this expansion and contraction will keep on taking place, and finally there will be the formation of cracks in the rocks, and ultimately the rock will break down. So the first factor that affecting the formation of soil is sun. I hope how now it is clear to you. Next factor, students, it is water. Water gets into the cracks of the rocks and freezes down there. This leads to widening of the cracks. Okay, it will be widening. This leads to the widening of the cracks. Flowing water often carries pieces of rocks away, and on that path they get broken down into smaller pieces as they rub against each other, and also due to the pressure of flowing water. This is the one reason why soil is formed far away from the parent rock. Very important. See what happens, water gets into the cracks and freezes down there. This leads to the cracks that have been formed due to the sun. It gets widened. Okay, now flowing water often carries pieces of rocks away. That pieces of rocks that have been formed on the path, they get broken down into smaller pieces and they rub against each other, and also due to the pressure of the flowing water. Okay, so they are carried, pieces of rocks are carried away, and on that path they get broken down into smaller pieces as they are continuously rubbing against each other. That is why this is one of the reasons why soil is formed far away from the parent rock. Next factor that is affecting the formation of soil is winds. Winds can wear down the rocks and break them. Strong winds rub against the rock and break them or wear them down just like water. Winds also carry away the soil or sand from one place to another. You all know that because of the wind or water flow, maximum cases of soil erosion are also there. Okay, so winds, it can wear down the rocks and break them. Strong winds rub against the rocks and break them or wear them down just like water. Winds also carry away the soil or sand from one place to another. Next factor that is affecting the soil formation is living organisms. Now it is very important part. Lichens that can grow on the rocks and secrete a certain substance that can powder down a rock, which leads to the formation of soils. See students, lichens are said to be the first one to colonize a rock. it is said that they are the first one to start the life on a rock. Okay, so that's why it is said that they can grow on the rocks and secrete a certain substance that can break down a rock or powder down a rock. Clear? So remember the statement that lichens are the first organism to colonize a rock. Now after that, after lichens growing, small plants such as moss often grow on the rocks and break them down. But after the lichens, okay, first to colonize rocks are lichens always. So small plants such as moss often grows on rocks and break them down. It may also happen that the roots of different plants and trees get into the rock surface and break it down or widen the cracks. Very important. It may also happen that the roots of different plants and trees get into the rock surface and break it down or widen the cracks. Clear? So these are the factors that affect the formation of the soil. As I told you, what is happening? See, the formation of soil is just due to the weathering process. Okay, continuous heating, continuous water, continuous air. When these things combine and fall on the rock, okay, so the rock develops cracks as we discussed, and because of that cracks develop, the crack expand. Okay, once the living organisms start growing in it and the water start going inside it, so eventually it leads to the breaking of the rocks. And once the rocks gets break into very finer particles, then it is easy to be broken off into more simpler particles. Okay, and once that it is done, then the soil is formed. But you all know that the formation of even a little soil takes hundred of years. Okay, so you need to remember that the formation of soil is not a very quick process, it is a very time consuming process. Okay, so you need to remember that the soil formation takes hundreds of years to happen. Clear? So this was about the factors affecting formation of soil. Okay students, see, very important points, so go through them again and then we will be doing the next one. So I hope student it is clear to all of you. Now look at this diagram. This shows the factors, all the factors that are affecting the formation of soil. What are these? The climate, definitely, the temperature, water, humidity, etc. Then living organisms, parent material, what is the kind of parent material, and the topography of the region. What is the topography of a region? Means, for example, soil formation will be different in the planar areas as compared to the hilly areas. Then time is the main, that is consuming time. Okay, soil processes takes very long time or hundreds of years. Clear? So these are the factors that affect formation of soil. Soil is a mixture of various substances and it contains the following. What does it contain? It contains small pieces of rocks, bits of decayed living organism called the humus, microscopic organisms, minerals and nutrients. Okay, see, because it is formed from rocks, okay, big rocks, so certainly sometimes there are small pieces of rocks that are yet to be weathered. So it consists of these substances. First one is small pieces of rocks, because it is formed from the rock, so the big rocks sometimes some particles are not able to weather completely, and that's why they remain small pieces of rocks. Second one, very important, bits of decayed living organism called the humus. You know, when a living organism is died and is buried in the soil, after some time it is slowly decomposing due to the presence of microscopic organism living inside the earth. Okay, so because of that is the soil becomes rich in the humus and the nutrients. Okay, for example, anything, not only living organism, the part of the plants also, if it dies, it comes in the contact of soil and get decomposed. For example, leaves, twigs, etc., and they start decaying and they lead to the formation of humus. Okay, humus is rich in nutrient. And the fourth important part, that it is a mixture of minerals and nutrients. You all know that the plant growing on the soil needs minerals and nutrients in the good amount, which is absorbed by them with the help of the water. Clear? So this is that soil is a mixture of various substances, small pieces of rocks, bits of decayed living organism called the humus, microscopic organisms, minerals and nutrients. Okay, clear, students? So this was all about the formation of the soil. Okay, in the next video we will be continuing this chapter. Okay, students, till then you keep studying, keep making notes, stay inside your house and take care of yourselves. Thank you and have a nice day.